Welcome back to another video in our dashboard series. In this video, you'll dive into configuring the Pareto chart and aggregated Pareto chart gadgets. You'll also learn how to interpret the information they provide. Let's get started. Pareto chart. The Pareto chart gadget features a dual y-axis chart with bars sorted in descending order, from the highest value to the lowest, from left to right. It also includes a cumulative percentage line and an 80% line. The height of the bars in the Pareto chart reflects the measurement value, typically representing energy consumption. The horizontal axis, x-axis, displays devices, meters, relays, areas, buildings, or sites from the hierarchies. The left-hand vertical axis, left y-axis, represents the measurement value per device or hierarchy element, typically indicating energy consumption. The right y-axis, right-hand vertical axis, represents the cumulative percentage, measuring the cumulative total of data for each bar. To illustrate the cumulative percentage further, consider the following example. In the first bar, the energy consumption of Zone 3 is 38.4 kilowatt-hours, representing 33% of the total energy consumption of all zones. Total energy 115 kilowatt-hours. In the second bar, the energy consumption of Zone 1 is 30.1 kilowatt-hour, leading to a cumulative percent of 60.2%, calculated by adding the energy consumption of the first two bars and expressing it as a percentage of the total consumption. 33% from the first bar plus 26.77% from Zone 2. Once you reach the last bar, you have accounted for 100% of all the zones in the graph. The final component of the Pareto chart is the 80% cutoff line, which aids in determining the 80-20 rule of the Pareto principle. Data points falling under the 80% line indicate the zones, devices, or loads that require attention to drive significant improvements, as they contribute to 80% of the energy consumption. Conversely, data points above the 80% line contribute to the remaining 20% of consumption and, reducing their impact, may not significantly minimize energy consumption. In conclusion, this gadget chart helps users identify areas or loads where energy efficiency improvements can have the greatest impact. Gadget configuration. Let's walk through the process of configuring the gadget. To begin, you can either click on the plus button to add a new dashboard, or access the top menu and select Add a new dashboard. Once the dashboard is named, proceed by clicking on Add Gadget. Next, navigate to the Usage Analysis category and select Pareto chart. After providing a title for the gadget, such as energy consumption by zones, and choosing the desired level of opacity, proceed to the next step. At this stage, you have the option to customize the font, precision, and color, but for now, let's move on to adding the data series. This gadget supports hierarchies, allowing you to choose from individual devices or groups of hierarchies. In this case, I will take the data from devices to visualize its energy consumption. At Measurements, always make sure to check from Show Advanced that the checkbox for Displayed Only Measurements with Historical Data is selected. Remember, you can also customize the display name and units. Pareto chart to work needs more than one data series. For my example, I will call 6 zones. Once selected, you need to go to the next step where you specify the time range. For instance, you can select this year. Finally, configure the details of your gadget. Marker position. Set the level of the marker line on a scale of 0 to 100% by entering the marker position. By default, the value is 80, which follows the Pareto principle, but you can change it. Select Show Total to include a total value at the top of the Pareto chart. Specify a legend name. This name will be shown as an axis label for the left y-axis in the chart. Click Finish. Now let's check the result. If we need to make adjustments, we can do so by clicking on the gadget, accessing the top menu. Aggregated Pareto chart. The aggregated Pareto chart gadget closely resembles the Pareto chart we just discussed. However, its key difference lies in the presentation of data. First, let's examine the horizontal axis. Instead of displaying individual sources, it shows a time period, which could be hours, days, or months, depending on the gadget configuration. Next, let's consider the bars. Each bar represents the information of all the devices, with different color segments, indicating the energy consumption of each device during that specific time period, hour, day, or month. To grasp this concept, let's create a gadget. The configuration steps for the aggregated Pareto chart are nearly identical to those for the Pareto chart, with the only distinction arising when you are prompted to specify the viewing period. At this stage, you will encounter an additional parameter to configure, which is the aggregation. This aspect is crucial for visualizing your gadget, as it determines how each bar will be configured. Now that the gadget is built, let's analyze the results. With the viewing period set to the last 7 days, on the horizontal axis, we can observe the last 7 days organized, from left to right, based on higher to lower consumption. This indicates that on Tuesday, the total consumption of zones 1, 2, 3, and 4 was the highest among the last 7 days, while Saturday marked the lowest total consumption across the 4 zones. Below the 80% line, we find Tuesday and Monday, suggesting that if the company wishes to implement a reduction program, closer attention should be paid to these high consumption days. Before we conclude the video, please remember that in order to utilize these two gadgets, your system requires the Energy Analysis Dashboards module license. Without it, the gadgets will not be enabled. I hope you found this video enjoyable. See you in our next dashboard video series.